Hey guys, and welcome. Good evening. We're here on the Warhammer Studio post Game 1.
Well, I kind of don't know if we can call it the Warhammer Studio. I think that's probably claimed by Games Workshop. We're at the LGT Studio. How about
LGT
that?
Studio,
LGT
yeah.
Studio.
I think that sounds better. All right, so and my co-host here is Tweak from Contact Loss.
Hello.
I'm Joker, and our first guest is the organizer himself, Zach Addington. Hi, Zach.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, all right. You?
A bit tired. I mean, to be expected, but I'm pretty good. We've just finished our first day. Pretty much everything's gone to plan, and it's always a buzz. Saturdays when everyone's got a beer in their hand, everyone's playing the games. There's none of the stress of the finals day, so it's always a pleasure to run. Saturday's always my favourite day.
All right. Well, it's amazing so far, at least in my opinion. Tweak.
Yeah, I'm having great fun, and I hope that the other guys are having fun as well. Yesterday, we kicked off the event with the Invitational. Are you happy with how it went? Did it go according to plan? Was everything good?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke yesterday about the Invitational as well, right? The Invitational is a combination of two things. It's a showcase of the best players and a showcase of the community leaders and contributors, right? So, unfortunately, what typically happens is the best players knock out the community leaders straight away, which happened straight away when we had Andrew Weller, who's one of the official Warhammer hobby heroes, get knocked out. And this gentleman's just come off the back of 40 hours of 40k last weekend, raising tens of thousands of pounds for charity. So it's great to have him involved, but the chance of him getting past round one is relatively low. But so in terms of the pairings and placings, it went exactly as I thought it would. We had a gentleman from Iceland get really far with his Tau and knock out a couple of the favourites, so that was a surprise. But I think most of us assumed it would be Manny and Vic in the final, and turns out that's the case.
That's exactly what happened.
And playing right now, which is worth mentioning. And in the last part of today's studio, we'll be having them over talking about that game, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the Invitational happened, everything great. We came to Saturday. Were there any highlights? Anything that you were particularly proud of?
The highlights, I mean, shout out to Games Workshop. One of the highlights for me today, I'm sitting behind my desk. I'm greeting all the people that are coming to collect their merch and VIP bags. We do VIP tickets, just like LVO, Nova, all the big events do. They come with a big bag of swag. So we give them literally hundreds and hundreds of pounds worth of stuff, as well as two attendances at our events for basically a third of the price of what they're getting. So to greet all these people and give them these big presents, including this amazing swag we've had from Games Workshop, was a real highlight for me. Now, obviously, that doesn't relate to the gaming at all, which is what most people are interested in. But anyone that attends events will know that aspect of coming to events, where it's not just the gaming that matters, is really important. From a gaming perspective, with an event this size, it's kind of hard to know what's going on because lots of the top seed players won't be playing people that are regulars on the scene, so you never really know how it's going to go. So from my side of things, I haven't got a gaming highlight yet because generally speaking, I don't think we've had a favourite match against a favourite. We haven't had a surprise knockout where an unknown player or relatively less experienced players knocked out a favourite. So at the moment, I'm just happy that the event's going well. We've played, 720 players, right? So that's like 360 tables times 3. That's well over 1,000 games today. Yeah. So it's always a pleasure to bring that much 40k into existence.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to ask about turnout. 720, you said. Are we having 720 exactly, or were there any?
No, 720 is like the round number that's close to where we ended up. So we had a couple of late sales. We had a couple of no-shows, people that registered and then deregistered. I'm using 720 because the maths is easy. I believe we ended up with somewhere around 733-ish registered for starting of day one, and obviously that drops off each round. But the important thing is we had one of our historically low attrition rates. So we had fairly reasonably below our long-term average of no-shows, which shows that the game's in a really healthy state. People are liking the meta. And they're excited about the event. People that have come before that wanted to come back. So it's great from my point of view to see that the excitement is in the game, and that people have the trust in the LGT to come along and have a good time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the plan for the next days? What's the plan for tomorrow? What's the plan for Monday?
Yeah, so this is the first weekend we've ran 4 days, right? So the plan for tomorrow is the finalization of what normally back in the day used to be the LGT, which was when it was 5 rounds. So after 5 rounds, we will make have a general award ceremony where we'll give out the bulk of the awards. We have something like over 50 awards, best of factions, winners of pods. So if you've gone 4-1, you can claim your award then. But the undefeated players will go through to their top cut. So anyone that's on 5-0, go through to their top cut. And they're sort of excluded from, say, the best of faction. So if you're winning best guard, but you've also made it through to the finals, you probably care much more about the fact that you're getting an unconquerable award, which is when you've gone 5-0, and you're playing for third place or better, right? So we try to distribute the prizes through the field that way. That cut happens after round 5. We'll probably end up with around 22, 24-ish players going 5-0. So we'll have a shadow round to get that down to 16, and then there's the final 4 rounds to get us to one undefeated champion.
Right. And those are knockout stages, like we had the Invitational.
Exactly, yeah. It's a knockout round. So by the end of Sunday night, there will only be 8 players left who have to stay on the Monday. We've obviously got RTTs as well, so we'll probably still have another 100 people here on Monday. The real hardcorers have taken 4 days off work. They've played all the RTTs, all the events, and then the Monday RTTs as well. So we'll have another 100-ish people on site for Monday.
So we have some unexpected turns of events as well, because some players are already out of the race for the top spot, like Kyle Grundy, who I think lost one of the games. He probably might have a problem getting there. Yoko Johansson, for whom we've been rooting very, very strongly. Ines Wilson, I think, was unlucky in his first game, and then Manichima, I think, as well.
Yeah. Like I said, man, I've been meeting and greeting, so this is news to me. So you get a first take in reaction. So Ines is an interesting one because he's very, very top player.
Yeah.
Was winning super majors all over the shop when he was playing top tier lists, right? When he was playing Tyrannus. Switched to GSC, I think, because he enjoys the list a lot more. And has been doing less good. So let's face facts. The fact the Codex has had an impact on his performance. But I was expecting him to go slightly further, so I'd be interested to see who knocked him out. Jokel, same thing. Top player, did really well in the Invitational, so I'm a little surprised to hear that.
Both lost against Necrons.
Against Necrons,
Don't know if it's the same person. I think that's a bit unlikely, but
yeah, I mean, with this many people,
yeah.
a lot of people playing Necrons. So, but these things happen. Necrons are an army that can easily be an upsetter because it's so easy for them to score high. Then the other obviously thing is, we had the 0-0 situation with Manny and James. Now, this is obviously not the way any player who's trying to play for the win wants to get knocked out of the running, but ultimately, they were in a situation that was creating a massive amount of player discomfort both with each other, and we have certain policies that we have to adhere to keep an event this size on schedule. Yeah. So anyone that's read our pack, which unfortunately isn't everyone, I'd hope that all our attendees read it, but they never do. We have a few packs. We have the tournament pack that has the missions in. We have the policies and procedure pack, which governs how we run the tournaments, and then we have the other sort of stuff about the venue and all that things. But in our policies and procedures, we have very clearly stated that you're responsible for, number 1, keeping your score. It should be the same as your opponent's score, so you should be checking that throughout the game. Number 2, you should be playing to 5 rounds, finishing 3 hours. And number 4, or number 3, whatever I'm at now, we can't have 720 people sitting around because 2 people can't agree on what their score is. They can't submit their score. So ultimately, from my point of view, we created these policies, in some cases years ago, depending on which event they came out of.
And for a reason.
Yeah, because we had a problem once, and I wanted to create a policy so we have a standardized response in the future. Staying on time is a matter of respect for all our attendees and all the fellow hobbyists. And people have plans. With a destination event, people have come to London not necessarily because they want to hang around in a venue past 8 o'clock at night. They want to go out and see London. So first and foremost, my obligation and interest is in making sure that, number 1, everyone is treated fairly, and that's means being treated in line with our stated policies. And then number 2, respecting people's time as their own. So unfortunately, that they got into a situation where, because of certain in-game arguments and discrepancies, they were having to have a ref at the table. This slowed things down, as it always does. And by the time the game had reached a conclusion, unfortunately, they weren't able to agree a score, they were overtime past our 15-minute leeway, which is when we have to get the scores in so we can trigger the next round. So our policies kicked in, and our policy in that situation is you get a 0-0 draw for no score submission. Now, this is quite a unique situation because it didn't just happen full stop, right? We played, like I said, we played 1,000 plus games today, and this is the one game where we've had this happen, and this basically the second time in I think over 100,000 games I've officiated where it's ever happened. So it's rare that it even happened. Secondly, it's super rare that it's happened to one person who was in the running for the favourites to win the event, and doubly super rare for it to happen to two of the favourites playing each other at the same time, right? Exactly. So the odds are absolutely crazy. So it's unfortunate that it happened at all. It's doubly unfortunate that it happened to people that are in the running to win. But ultimately, just because it's unfortunate, we can't treat people differently because they're a favourite. We have to treat everyone the same, and the policy is there in order to make sure that happens. So realistically, that's what happened. I think it is ultimately just a shame on all parts, because had one person smashed the other person, as sometimes happens, one person's disappointed, the other person gets through. This is basically a lose-lose-lose.
Very much so.
It could have been a lose-lose-lose, in which case the last lose would have been 700 people being late, and that's the reason we have our policy, is to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it's a lose-lose situation, but on the other hand, let this be a lesson to everyone attending such events that, you have to not only respect your own time, your opponent's time, but also other people's at the event. And it's admirable that, you, the judges, and so on, all the people involved were able to adhere to the rules set out earlier, with respect to other players at the venue. So at the end of the day, let's treat this as a lesson learned for future events, and all the players who know now what happened exactly can also draw conclusions from that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but rules are rules, and they're in there for a reason. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't like to call them rules because obviously we work in a game that has a bunch of rules, but fundamentally, like, that document is there because I need to know what I should do under time pressure situations, and I need to have given it some serious thought in advance. And it doesn't just handle timekeeping issues. It's in there for what you should do if there's a clock discrepancy, what they should do if there's a score discrepancy, what you should do if you have no opponent. It's literally, you could read that document and be like, oh, I know how to run a tournament now, because it basically tells you if you want to run them the same way I do.
But we also have,
everyone does,
we have multiple, we ourselves are content creators, and there are other even more well-known content creators who talk about player conduct, who talk about behavior at tournaments and so on. So this is exactly what we are talking about, and exactly the kind of stuff that you need to pay attention to at major events.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I don't expect everyone to be best buds. I do expect everyone to be polite to each other. And we have a phrase in our pack that's been in there since the very first one, which is something along the lines of, we expect people to play like politely but competitively. Like, this is a tournament. Like, we don't expect everyone here is going to win it, but we expect that some people are going to try to win it, and they come with express purpose to win it. But we expect you to treat everyone like you expect to be treated. And it comes with being cordial throughout the entirety of the game, even when you have a disagreement. So that's not the relation to this issue at all. That's a policy and a passion of mine, is making sure that my attendees have a great experience as a result of how they interact with other players. And ultimately it comes down to everything. Like, our painting and modelling policy directly comes from that. It's you're responsible for your opponent's experience based on the aesthetics of your model, and that informs how we police the hobby sides of it as well.
Absolutely. All right, Zach, I need to ask, when are you eventually going to get some sleep?
Get some sleep, man. I wish I knew. It's great that we've got the Invitational going on now, the final. Saturday used to be my day, my early night and my late morning in the morning on Sunday. I'm really excited to see what this is going to win. So who's going to win this? So even though I probably could try and get an early night tonight, I'm going to hang around and see the end of it. So the answer to your question is Wednesday. We've got to pack away here late night Friday. We've got to pack away back to the unit on Tuesday. Obviously, I have a team of guys helping me with that sort of stuff, but I still have to be present. So Wednesday's sleep day. Thursday sending out lost property, but Wednesday sleep day.
Wow.
Well, you need a break before you get into lost property, because that can be a mess.
Yeah.
Any hopes for tomorrow?
Hopes for tomorrow? Well, when you run large events like this, obviously your first and foremost hope is that everyone has a safe and enjoyable time. Having 2,000 people in a room together can just lead to accidents sometimes. So that's always number one of my priorities. But ultimately, I would love to see. I would love to see a 40k event where the winner is somebody that is true champion in all respects of the game, so that they engage in the hobby side of things, whether they're great at painting or not, that they're a gentleman, and they say a gentleman scholar or something, but like a guy who's well known for being a friendly person who's a pleasure to play, and also a person who's great on the tabletop. Who that person is, I don't care. In fact, in many ways, I hope it's somebody I don't know, because there's so many top players out there that don't have a name. And we saw this at the Invitational event that we did a little bit of coverage on, the Unconquerable event about a month ago, where David Gaylord got knocked out very early in the event by a guy called George. George goes to like 2 events a year. It's basically the LGT, and then he got invited to this Invitational. And he's a top player, but no one knows him because he doesn't have a blog, he doesn't attend lots of events. So from my perspective, I just hope that the person that wins is not only the champion of winning 10 games in a row, but the champion of what Warhammer as a community sort of stands for.
Yeah, we're also fans of underdogs, so we've been following Yokel yesterday and early morning today.
Yep.
We'll be updating our list of players to follow because quite a lot of them have been knocked out.
Okay. Who's left in now? Let me do a prediction. Obviously, I'm completely impartial, but I can take a guess about who will win.
We've got Alex Harrison still in the running, Mike Porter, who will be on after a short break. Over here we've got Chris Radford with his Space Wolves. He'll also be in here with Mike Porter in a bit. Who else we got? We've got Don Maidlow, we've got Stephen Box, we've got Fred Otto.
Fred Otto. Fred is the dark horse, right? This is the guy that no one knows that smashes everyone. I think I'm going to put, not that I'm a betting man, I'll put a solid gold pound with the new King's face on David Gaylord. That's going to be my bet.
He's also on 3 wins.
3 wins, yeah. I think he's got so much practice with his list and against some of the best players in the world that the reliability of his run coming into this, where he did something like 36-0, is the safest bet. But we shall see. We shall see.
Joker, what's your choice?
Who's going to come out on top? I don't think I haven't given it much thought. I think Fred's got a good chance of winning. He's playing strong faction. He's also put in a lot of reps. He's experienced. He's got a strong record, although outside of the UK TC. So, yeah, fingers crossed for him. What about you?
I'll go probably with Vic.
Vic?
Yeah, just because I adore him as a person and him as
He's great.
He's great, man. Have you spoken to him about his list yet?
Many a time.
The Blast Masters of Doom. Yeah, I mean, that's great. And it shows you the diversity of player skill around from a geographic. We've got a Kiwi pick, a German pick, and a Brummie from Birmingham.
Exactly.
So
shows how great the hobby we are sharing.
Exactly. I mean, this is fundamentally like one of the things the LGT is about. It's about bringing everyone together, getting them in a room. And like I've said a million times, Games Workshop slogan is not just a slogan. Like it really means what it means, which is getting people to play more Warhammer more often. And whether we're involved with Games Workshop or doing it independently like I am, that's really why we're here. So I'm glad that things are going well, and I hope that continues tomorrow.
Well said. All right, I think we will wrap here.
I think so, unless, Zach, anything else you want to add?
All good. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Coming in. So, guys, we'll be back again after a short break. We'll have Mike Porter and Chris Radford on to talk about their games and their expectations for tomorrow and for the upcoming, hopefully, balanced data slate.
Space Wolves! See you there.